The AAA video game collapse is officially upon us. About a week ago, we talked about Square Enix restructuring, refocusing their efforts in order to put out a more streamlined gaming output. And it's like, yeah, gave them props for that. That totally makes sense. They're still, at this point in time, an independent company. And if they can go ahead and make it work, well, that would be great, because they were putting out a bunch of slop. But then when you have Microsoft basically, for all intents and purposes, gut the studios that they spent the better part of the past few years acquiring, coming in and folding operations, the crash is upon us. Whether you want to believe it or not, just simply look at the numbers, man. Mass layoffs have permeated the industry, and this right here, oh, it's the worst of it. Microsoft guts Bethesda workforce, shutters Redfall and Hi-Fi Rush Studio in order to focus on our priority games. So they gut Bethesda. Prior to the Activision Blizzard acquisition, the biggest, most high-profile acquisition of a gaming company by another quote-unquote gaming company, but it's Microsoft technology company, right? Putting everything under the Xbox umbrella. Then you blow it all up? Well, hey, how can you spin Starfield as just this misunderstood masterpiece and see news like this? Funny thing about Hi-Fi Rush, I hear great things about it. Just didn't hear very many people play it, and it's one of those games that's going to be brought over to Sony and other platforms under Xboxes. We're not totally getting away from, first party releases, and yeah, we're still going to be making consoles, I think, but moves like this, it's doubling down on our priority games. When you take a look at their own in-house IPs and even the IPs that they went and purchased, like outside of Call of Duty, what do you really have? Like Halo? Halo's going nowhere fast. Gears of War, is anybody looking forward to Gears 6? I think that's what they're on. As somebody who religiously played the first 3 Gears of War, the fact that I don't even know what iteration they're on kind of lets you know the state of the franchise. What else? Anybody still looking forward to Scalebound? Remember when that was announced? Yeah, exactly. I do. You and probably Microsoft don't. In contributing yet again to the ongoing wave of Western video game industry layoffs, Microsoft has announced both the closure of 2. Microsoft has announced that as part of a massive restructuring of the Bethesda subsidiary, not only will they be closing the respective studios behind Redfall, oh shucks, one of the biggest bombs of 2023, an incoherent mess of a game, but that was also Arkane Studios, which has put out overhyped slop for better part of a decade. It's just, here's the thing, Dishonored sold, and Hi-Fi Rush, but also undertaking a massive reorganization of those teams lucky enough to survive the culling. Microsoft plans to gut Bethesda's workforce were first revealed to the public in the morning of May 7th, courtesy of an official Twitter account in the aforementioned Redfall and Hi-Fi Rush teams, Arkane Studios and Tango Gameworks. In their respective posts, the former developer teams somberly informed their fans. Today it was announced that Arkane Austin will close and development will not continue on Redfall. Everybody's like, oh no, that kind of sucks, but you guys were still working on Redfall. It was never going to be a good game. To everyone that has supported the work from our Austin studio over the years, thank you. Studio continued. Thank you for spending time in our worlds and making them our own. Arkane Lion will continue their focus on immersive experiences, blah, 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 don't care. Redfall players who purchased the Hero Pass as part of the Premium Bite Back Edition, both of you, or the Premium Bite Back upgrade, will be eligible to receive the value of the upgrade, whatever that means. Couldn't have got any value from the game because it was terrible. It was broken, buggy, incoherent mess, and that's not even to speak about the story. Now, while there will be no further updates, Redfall's servers will remain online for players to enjoy through the end of the year until they close them. Opting for a more brief goodbye, their sister studio, the Shinji Mikami founded... Oh, really? Wow. Tango Gameworks explained the situation. Today it was announced that Tango Gameworks will close. Thanks to everyone that explored the world, Ghostwire Tokyo and The Devil Within. Wow, 2 high-profile... I didn't realize that they made those games. Ghostwire Tokyo was fairly well received. Didn't it end up getting a sequel? And same with The Evil Within. The first one was a little flumpy, but the second one seemed to course correct. Closed in their short statement, Hi-Fi Rush, along with Tango's previous titles, will remain available and playable everywhere they are today. Yeah, just like other game studios closing. But yeah, this is something that's been going on in games for a long time. Studios close, new ones reopen, blah, blah, blah. It's all great. But we have not seen a culling of the herd like this, especially given the fact that most of these game studios have been acquired by like 2 or 3 major umbrella corporations. Not the umbrella corporation. We haven't quite got to that point yet, unless you want to go ahead and make the corollaries to Pfizer, which I'd be totally open to hearing. But the fact that the AAA market, at least the Western market, is collapsing like this, where we're seeing multiple studios, multiple high-profile studios like this close on the same day, and this isn't likely to be the end of it, because report claims Xbox is planning more cuts following studio closure. It's not a good sign, guys. It's not a good sign. The bad news keeps coming for Xbox this week, as Bloomberg is reporting that following the 4 studio closures that were mentioned on Tuesday. Wait, there's a couple of other ones we didn't get to. I guess we'll get to that as well. There are apparently plans for more job cuts in the seemingly near future, as described by the outlet. Xbox has apparently been offering voluntary severance agreements to various Zenimax. That's the parent company of Bethesda that was purchased by Microsoft a couple of years back. Hope you're following. Bloomberg's lengthy article mentions that Zenimax Town Hall was held this week to address studio closures, with Xbox's Matt Bodie reportedly claiming that Bethesda studios have been spread too thin. Too much bread with too little butter. Both Arkane Austin and Tango Gameworks were supposedly preparing to pitch new projects, including a single-player immersive sim and a Hi-Fi Rush sequel. Talked about that a little bit earlier. But both also required additional staff to make this happen, which seemingly played a big role in Xbox making the decision. Oh, you wanted to pitch new games, huh? We're closing your studio. Claimed the head of Zenimax Studios, Jill Braff, go figure, mentioned during a town hall that reorganizing the division would allow for more focus on fewer projects, while Bodie noted that the decision would free up resources elsewhere. For what? Elder Scrolls 6? Well, if they're still going to be running that same old dilapidated Starfield engine, or maybe DLC for the 6 people still playing Starfield? Is that what you're freeing up resources for? Because that's what we're going to be seeing moving forward. Or maybe we're going to have Zenimax employees move over to the Activision side of things to help with Warzone and Call of Duty updates, because that's where the gaming industry is just heading. Okay, focusing on what was the way that these studio closures were framed as Microsoft needs to focus on priority games. That's what we're talking about here. We're just talking about pillars now in the industry. This sounds exactly like what's wrong with Hollywood, where all you have is just one IP. One IP, as Bob Iger put it. These studios are RP. There's nothing RP about this, but IP mining, and just whittling away at the base until there's nothing, and it just simply falls over and dies. Call of Duty is so long in the tooth at this point in time, and you're going to continue to put more eggs in that basket. Okay, worked out well for Blizzard and Diablo. Worked out well for Hollywood with the MCU. This doubling down on established IPs is going to end up destroying the Western entertainment market. And frankly, given their current output, anybody really going to shed a tear when it all comes crumbling down? Just to continue on a little bit, interestingly, the report says that Xbox's recent acquisition of Activision Blizzard has ramped up scrutiny from Microsoft leaders in recent times as well. Although there's no suggestion that this directly linked to this week's closure. Well, yeah, there was likely a lot of redundancy in play right there, given the fact that, Bethesda, Zenimax had a lot of studios under its umbrella, Arkane being one of them, obviously. I do believe Tango was also under that umbrella. Machine Games is also there, the guys behind the fantastic Wolfenstein New Order, and then of course they made the second one, and nobody's really pining for Wolfenstein 3. Man, that first one was so goddamn good. Let's just wrap this up with these changes here. Okay, so Arkane Austin, the studio, will close, and some members of the team will be joining other studios to work on projects across Bethesda. Arkane Austin has a history of making impactful, innovative, Redfall previous update, all that crap. Alpha Dog Studios. Okay, a studio will also close. We appreciate the team's creativity in bringing Doom to new players. Mighty Doom will be sunset on August 7th, and we will be turning off the availability to players to purchase it. Not to make any purchases in the game. Okay, so what, they were helping out id? Is id still in charge of Doom? 2016 is fantastic. I didn't get around to Eternal, but just hear that it's kind of iterative. I think I haven't. I don't know. Tango, yes, talked about them. Now, Roundhouse Games. Okay. Team of Roundhouse Games will be joining Zenimax Online Studios. Okay, so they're merging, they're folding in, keeping Elder Scrolls Online. Man, that is a name I haven't heard in a long time. So they're just going to be used to help with all of the bigger projects. Drawing his message to a close, Booty declared, talking about the same Booty again, with the consolidation of our Bethesda Studios teams, so that we can invest more deeply in our portfolio of games and new IPs, except for the studios that were creating new IPs like Hi-Fi Rush, and even would think of Redfall, whatever you will. It was still a new IP. A small number of roles across select Bethesda publishing and corporate teams will also be eliminated. Yeah, those are the positions that you should probably get rid of, not the people that are actually doing the work, making the products that could theoretically turn a profit. These changes are not a reflection of the creativity and skills of the talented individuals. Yeah, that's fantastic. There's also a big problem within the gaming industry. A lot of bloat. And this is what happens realistically when you start to make something a creative endeavor like game design, when you start to make schools for things like this, when you start to commercialize and manufacture these roles. Because I just cast my mind back to the golden age of video games. At least for me, that was the Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and then probably all the way up until the PS3. That was when you were seeing real, genuine love and care for the industry. You had these guys creating crazy projects out of their basement, in their garage. Rare Studios was a collection of passionate game guys wanting to put out the games that they wanted to see. Look at their output just on the Super Nintendo. Okay, the Donkey Kong Country series, you heard about that. Killer Instinct. And then on Super Nintendo, a little game called GoldenEye 64. Yeah, they were multifaceted. What other studios that are out there can go ahead and conquer the fighting game, platformer, and first-person shooter genre? Who is multidisciplinary like that? Don't reference them, because they'll just end up getting swallowed up by a bigger company. But there's so many problems plaguing this industry right now. Bloat's a big one, with a lot of underqualified but well-credentialed individuals coming in and not producing, not working. Take a look at the credits for some of these games, if you even bothered to finish a lot of them. Like when I rolled credits on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, it took about 20 minutes, but that is a game. That is a 150-hour first playthrough game that required 20 minutes of credits with all of those localization teams, all of those developers. Every red cent that was put into that game was used for that game, but it was also developed in the East. I can't remember the last time that I rolled credits on a Western game. You can see how many middle managers, how many developers have been laid off in 2024, how many studios have been closed. You just wonder, how did they even get work looking at their output? Like, I can at least attest to hearing about the quality of Hi-Fi Rush. I know that Arkane has put out games that are well regarded in the past. I can't say that for every round of layoffs that we've seen this year. There are too many cooks in the kitchen, and it is dragging down the overall AAA output. And now that they're going to refocus and continue to double down on the games that people are generally tired of playing, yeah, man, this is the beginning of the collapse. Might take a while, might take a few years, but the Western developer scene, yeah, it's not gonna look anything like it does right now. And to be completely honest, I think that's a good thing. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.